3 to 4 hours is all you need to get in shape. Now, if you've ever said, I don't have time to work out, then this is going to be just the video for you. Now, I specialize in working with high-performing executives, CEOs, and founders of companies, all to get results just like this. So these people don't have unlimited time on their hands. You know, they've got a lot of business travel, they've got erratic schedules, and everything is kind of unpredictable for them. My name is Tom Hutchinson-Smith, and for the past 10 years, I've been working with men and women over 35 years old who have sacrificed their health and their fitness to try and advance their careers. And honestly, a lot of them thought they were too far gone. They thought they had to be training, 6 times a week and living like a bodybuilder to get in any kind of shape. They also worried about, being able to be perfect and being able to commit to everything 100% of the time, which, you don't necessarily need to do that to actually get these types of results. And the reality is you don't actually need more complexity. You just need a plan that's nice and simple that you can follow, and you know exactly what is going to move the needle for you. So by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what a realistic week of training is going to look like, what actually matters the most in the gym, and most importantly, what doesn't matter the most in the gym. And the best part is you're going to be able to build a body that reflects your work ethic without your fitness taking over your absolute life. Now, the even better part is I've put this all together for you, and it's going to be in a free plan that you can download. The link is going to be in the bio. That's going to have all the sets, it's going to have all the reps, it's going to have all the exercises that you need to do on it, so you can actually take away something from this video and not just have a bit of an idea. You can have this plan and then carry it out week by week, and you can start it on Monday. Now, if you're anything like the people that I work with, then you're probably already going to be working full time, plus probably a hell of a lot more hours on top of that. So time and energy is definitely both going to be an issue. You find yourself stopping and starting because various work commitments kind of get in the way, and then you never really seem to actually build any momentum. And you also feel like, despite working incredibly hard and pushing yourself in a lot of ways and factors in your life, that your body just simply doesn't reflect your work ethic and is constantly on your mind. And you're also traveling for business, and you feel like it constantly sets you back every time you step on that plane. Now, if this sounds like you, stop waiting for a clear run, because it's never coming. We're going to look at how we can work through this, and then you can actually build some consistent progress for the first time in a long time. So what you're going to learn today is that you don't need to spend a huge amount of time in the gym every single week. You don't always need to be perfect to get results. More is not always better. We have to factor in recovery and the kind of stress levels that you're going through at the moment. And you might be watching this thinking that you're a little bit older now and your body's not quite the same as what it used to be. But let me tell you, you might be a little bit older, but you're definitely not obsolete. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like in practice. I'm going to show you the exact framework and the exact systems to get these types of results. And most importantly, remember, this is going to be in a free guide, so hit the link in the bio and you can go through all the exact steps so you can have a plan to kind of come away with. And I'm going to put all my links in there for kind of Instagram and LinkedIn and all this type of stuff, so you can get in contact with me if you wish to. And also, any questions at all, pop them in the comments, because I'm going to get back to every single one of them. And I appreciate that this might be a lot to take in, but I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you. Now, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to do 3 sessions a week. Each are going to be an hour long. Now, I'm going to put a 4th one in there as a bonus optional one, which I'm going to include in the plan. But let's just say the kind of bare minimum is going to be the 3. So we're going to be doing full body every session. Now, you've probably watched a lot of these videos and they've got like 15 chest exercises and stuff like that, but the reality is that the people who do these either A, are really, really advanced, or B, they're simply not training hard enough. So I want to show you how to get the most out of these 3 hours working your entire full body. Now we're going to keep the rep ranges between 8 and 15 reps. Any lower than that, I find, requires a lot more warming up and a lot more time in between sets. So therefore, that's gonna eat into a lot of your session. And you don't necessarily need to go a lot lower to build strength and muscle mass. It does help, but we simply ain't got time for that, hence why we're here. And also, we're not gonna go much higher than 15 reps, because a lot higher than this tends to become a bit of a cardio workout. It's definitely difficult to maintain the form on a lot of exercises, and again, it eats up a hell of a lot of time. So we're going to do 4 main exercises every single session. This is going to be vast majority of the session. These are going to kind of be like the indicator lifts for you, because if you don't get these exercises right, then you're simply not going to make much progress on this at all. So First one's going to be an upper body push. This can be things like press ups, dumbbell presses, bench presses, stuff like this. The second one's going to be upper body pull. So this can be like seated cable row, dumbbell rows, black pull downs, stuff like this. And then we're going to go on to the quads, to the lower body, which is a lower body pushing exercise. And that's going to be leg presses, split squats, this type of stuff. And then we're going to do one more exercise for the posterior chain, which is the muscles on the backs of the legs. And this is going to be either something like a seated or a lying hamstring curl, or we might go into more of a hip hinging movement, which will be an incline hip extension, or maybe something like a deadlift. And this is going to be all laid out in the plan for you, so you can know which one's going to be able to pick, especially for you, because sometimes it depends on stuff like your training experience and injuries and history and that type of stuff. Now, one really important thing is that we're going to focus on is lowering the weights slowly. Now, all the internet trolls and keyboard warriors are going to sit there and say, tempo doesn't make any difference. But I'm telling you now, after over 10,000 hours of personal training, I can definitely tell you that the number one problem with most people's training, outside of them being able to do the form, is they lift the weights way too quickly and they don't have control over it. So the thing is, when you lift the weights a lot quicker, it becomes, for most people, a lot easier, and that's the reason why they do it. So what we're going to aim to do in this program is we're going to lower the weights for 3 seconds, and then we're going to have a tiny little pause at the bottom. And what you're going to find is it's going to make the weights that little bit more demanding. You're going to obviously take a lot of the momentum out of it. You're going to make sure the muscles do as much work as they sort of humanly can. And the most important thing is, you're going to be able to actually be in control of the weight and make it as demanding as possible. Now, the final thing that we're really going to focus on is how hard the actual exercise is. So we're going to be aiming to push to some kind of failure. And what that means, you've got 2 types. You've got muscular failure, which is where you can't really do another rep. So we're going to be aiming to, pretty much on most of them, make that final rep super difficult to do. And if you find that that's not the case, then we're going to have to kind of change the weights and stuff, which I'll cover in a program as well. But the reality is, and I see this, I'm a personal trainer and I stand there in the gym every single day, is that people simply do not train hard enough. When you've got 3 hours per week to train, you can do a lot of that time, but if you don't make this kind of quite accurate and really specific and put a lot of effort in, then you're just simply never going to have enough time. So we're going to be focusing on training really hard in this. And then you've also got the second thing, which is technical failure. Now, depending on how experienced you are with lifting, some of the exercises that you might find that you're a bit wobbly, and then you get to the point where you kind of can't do it safely anymore. That's going to be technical failure. Either one is going to be fine, and that's going to be largely dependent on, like I say, your experience with the exercise and how long you've trained and stuff. But the reality is, you shouldn't really be able to do any more without something dramatically changing, at the final set and the last few reps. Before we get into it, please don't make these mistakes. Mistake number 1 is going to be being tempted to just throw in a chest workout or a back workout or a leg workout, something like that. Stick with the full body, because the reality is you're probably really not going to be needing to do all of those tons of exercises one after the other. It might be a bit fun, but let getting some actual results out of your training and some consistency be the thing that you actually enjoy the most. The beauty of full body is, for example, if you miss one of the sessions, then you've still trained your full body twice within that week. So one of the golden rules for kind of building muscle mass is to train the muscles at least twice within a kind of given week. So if you miss one, doesn't really matter, you've still kind of covered your bases and you can kind of pick up where you left off. The second mistake is simply not training hard enough. Now, you're going to need to be logging your weights, and you're going to be needing to be aimed to try and beat those numbers all the time. And if you do not kind of gamify this and get into it, you're simply going to be spinning wheels a lot of the time. Now, for a lot of people that I've trained over the years, there's some that will end up doing the same weight, pretty much, give or take a rep or two for the same, number of sessions, like with 4 or 5 sessions. And I always ask them, like, could you have not honestly done 2 more? And I'll give them a rep target, and then all of a sudden they will hit it. So you're going to have to be quite disciplined with yourself to make sure that you kind of keep tagging on a couple here and there. And to be honest, if you're not pulling some weird faces towards the end of it, making a few funny noises, and it's not looking super pretty at the end, then reality is it probably ain't that hard. So this is what an example week is going to look like. So you're going to do these 3 workouts. You can do them something like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you could do them Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You know, you can spread them around a little bit because, for example, if something comes up and you've got to move it around, then you could put 2 workouts back to back. I wouldn't recommend doing this all the time, but the most important thing is that you are consistent with it and you're able to kind of keep up with this every single week. So this is exactly what the training session is going to look like. And the first part is going to be the warm up. You know, it's really, really important not to skip this. So what you're going to do is you're going to aim to do between 2 and 5 exercises in a little bit of a circuit. It's going to take you about 5 minutes. And I would include exercises, stuff like banded dislocations, a dead hang, a deep sit, world's greatest stretch, stuff like that. Or you can include anything that you have like problematic areas with and run them around in circuit between 5 to 10 reps. Now, there's going to be some days where you probably run around that twice and you feel really, really good to go. If you're feeling a little bit slow one day or, you know, sleep's not been amazing, then you might need to do it a little bit more. But I wouldn't spend, you know, more than 5 minutes doing this. One, because you haven't simply got time. I don't think you realistically need any more than that. Then the only thing on top of this that I would do for warming up is you're going to do, for maybe the first 1 to 2 exercises, 1 to 2 warm-up sets for, you know, slightly lighter weight that you would normally lift with. Then you should be pretty much good to go. So as we discussed earlier, you're going to have 4 main big exercises. These are going to be your indicator lifts. Now, these are going to indicate whether the program is successful or not. So for example, over the course of weeks, you should be aiming to get stronger at these first 4 exercises, because if you're not, chances are something's not quite right and you're not really making much progress. You can add all of the bicep curls and leg curls and things and crunches on top of this. If these don't move forward, then you're simply not really going to get anywhere. So all of these exercises I will keep to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps. And remember, we've got the upper body push, the upper body pull, the lower body push, and the lower body pull. So upper body push is going to be things like dumbbell presses and you know, shoulder presses, things like that. Your pulling exercises are going to be seated cable rows, pull downs. The lower body pushing exercises are going to be split squats, leg presses, you know, pendulum squat, and then the 4th one, which is going to be a hamstring posterior chain stuff, is either be a hip hinge exercise like incline hip extension or some kind of deadlift variation, or you could do something like seated leg curl or, you know, hamstring curls in general. Now the next section of the workout is what we like to call focus areas. Now this is where I honestly believe that a lot of people go wrong when it comes to choosing and making their own exercise programs. Now, if you don't want to focus massively on a specific area, then don't waste time training it. If you want to do more upper body, do more upper body. If you want to do more legs, that's totally fine. So this next section is the bits that really kind of stick the cherry on the top for you and also makes it a bit interesting and things you really want to focus on. So I recommend about doing 2 to 3 exercises here. You know, maybe you could squeeze a 4th one if you pair some of them together, but you know, if you're going to be doing them on their own, then it's going to take you, like I say, between 2 or 4 exercises, going to finish up on that hour. What I would do is try and make the exercises as close together as possible in terms of like where the gym is, or try to use very similar pieces of equipment. So for example, if you want to do a specialization on the shoulders and arms, you could do something like a dumbbell lateral raise, a seated bicep curl, and a dumbbell skull crusher. They all require 1 bench and a set of dumbbells, and you can do these back to back because they're not super demanding exercises and they don't really carry over into each other that much. So you could just do 1 set of each and then rest at the end of the 3rd set. Or you can also just do it like with 2 exercises. So for example, if you wanted to just do like some shoulders and some crunches, you could just do those 2 together. But the most important thing is you don't want to be at this point setting loads of equipment up. You don't want to be, you know, having to kind of change loads of things and move stuff around in the gym. You want to stick with the machine stuff, stick with the dumbbells, stick with the cables, and then make it super quick, super easy, and then most importantly, focus on those areas that you really want to work on and work really hard at them. So now you've got all the exercises and the movements that you need to do. You know the sets, the reps. In terms of the rest, what I'd be looking at is anything between 60 seconds to 120 seconds. You know, it's going to be largely variable on the exercise and also your experience, but the bigger exercises, those 4 at the beginning, they're more likely going to be needing a little bit more rest, and the ones towards the end, I would try and keep those as trim as possible. So If you've been watching this video and you've really enjoyed it and you'd like to know more about obviously the program, remember I'm going to put the link in the bio. You can download it there. I'm going to expand on a few of the little areas in there just so you can kind of take that away and go on it, but you've got all the meat and potatoes that you need in this video, and I hope you enjoy it. Any questions at all, drop me a message in the comments and I'll get back to them. Most importantly, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.